of our touristic trust. That is the conversation that is happening with this type of legislation. And equally, as minister that is responsible for the hydrosphere, I have to put my voice to say that not only are we going to define areas for archaeological purposes and for the historic assets in our marine environment, but I must also be able to tell the country today, and confidently so, that we will also have areas for the other aspects of our tourism product. Areas for our pleasure craft and jet ski activities, recreational activities. Areas for our biological diversity and its preservation as the first part of our definition swap as we seek to build out our maritime space. Because we recognize that at least 13 or 40% of that space, if we are going to get the 30-30 goal that we have associated ourselves with, that if we are able to liberate at least 70% on our land space, our biosphere, that equally we can get another 13% or so with the right legislation and the consciousness associated with protecting that legislation from Barbados, of course, that we can get another 30 to 40% on this in the maritime environment. That is what we have said as a government. Equally, we have also said that there will be spaces allocated for artisanal fishing. There will be spaces allocated for energy as a resource. And I hear the energy from the other side too. But energy as a resource from the maritime space. We have said that there will be areas that will be there to protect our reef, our coral, in a natural way. We have said that there will be areas that we will utilize for science and for technology. So, with the Marine Spatial Plan, this entire exclusive economic zone would be demarcated using a science-based approach so we can build out our maritime space for the sustainable development of our island as we know it as Barbados, and to ensure that our Sustainable Development Goal 14 will become a reality and just not the Beijing dream. I want to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, that this legislation that seeks to protect and ensure that member states also protect their historic assets is a legislation that the entire Barbados should feel proud of, because there are a lot of things that we need to protect. It speaks to how the environment in terms of what goes into our environmental space, our marine space, that must also be protected. It speaks to the fact that when the shipwrecks and those that we have those types of procedures, that what goes into the ocean is minus any harmful chemicals or toxins that would pollute that immediate environment. This legislation is a holistic piece of legislation that deals with how we are going to not only preserve, but how us to build out a new dimension in terms of our tourism product. But as I said, the Marine Spatial Plan also seeks to build out how we are going to proceed with artisanal fishing. So it will speak to mariculture as a part of that build out, and to get directly into the fishing industry, because all of us were exposed in some form, fashion, or how to the vagaries of what I would call a very anomaly. The National Hurricane Center said that over the last 10 years, they have not seen anything like it. And there were tracking hurricane and tsunami episodes for the last 10 years or so. They said they have never seen nothing like it. We were all exposed to it. We saw the devastation on our fishing industry. I won't have to date back myself to exactly all the details from July the 1st, but just to say it devastated the industry. Government made the commitment back then, and the Prime Minister, she had 2 meetings with the members of the fishing community. I was there at all the meetings. And subsequently, we have had a number of meetings. I must tell Barbados that I have been at the boatyards on numerous occasions. I will count at least 5 occasions thus far, having conversations with those fishermen to ensure that we get them to come and do the right things as it relates to filling out those forms that are essential and important in terms of collecting the information so that we can process those payments. I must report to the country that along with me agitating, the Chief Fisheries Officer, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, and all those folks in the Fisheries Division, that we have not had the successful completion of all the forms thus far. I must admit to that. We have not had the successful completion of all the forms thus far. And I must say, because John 8 verses 44 will speak to the devil being the absolute liar. But I would say today, in the fullness of the truth, that we have had some 40 or so persons who have not come forward at all to claim any funds, whether it is through the benevolent fund program or through the 25% that we were giving grant for the repairs of the boats. 40 persons thus far have not ventured anywhere near the fisheries section. They have not come forward to receive benefits. 40 persons thus far. I want to also say that the ministry, understanding the dynamics of the fishing industry and what is taking place there, we have decided to employ 4 additional staff members, 4 additional staff members to work directly with the fisher folk to help them fill out the forms, the vending forms. We have now employed an additional person to make phone calls to all those fisher folk. Thank you, Minister. The minister responsible for ensuring that there is just transitioning. So the fisher folk, all the fisher folk, are now able to call the ministry and get some person who is there, and their sole responsibility is to call all those fisher folk with the vending forms who were not correct in filling out the forms, if the forms were incomplete, if there were missing Thomas numbers, those types of challenges, we were able to get some person to do those calls. I must tell you, Madam Deputy Chair, that I spent a whole day down there with the fishing division, calling myself a list to ensure and get those persons to come in and make the corrections, and to ensure that we are able to walk in the journey with our fisher folk so that they can get their monies. We made a determination that persons, the boat owners, would receive $2,000 for 3 months. We also made a determination as a government that the captains and crew would also receive $1,500 for 3 months. So the boat owners will get $2,000 for 3 months, that's $6,000 in all, and each captain and crew will get $1,500 a month for 3 months. That is $4,500 for captain and $4,500 for a crew. We made that determination as a government in the immediate aftermath of Beryl. Subsequently, we understand, obviously, that the vendors would have been affected, although not in a direct way in terms of their boats being damaged. But we understand, and we made the determination a couple of weeks ago as a cabinet that we would give the vendors a one-off payment of $1,500 as well. I must say, to date, we have paid over 100 vendors to date. Over 100 vendors have been paid, and that is based on persons who came and filled out the form with the TAMIS number, with the ideal information that was suited. I must admit that there were some challenges in terms of banking information. We have persons who had dormant accounts. The information, there was a tedious exercise in terms of getting new banking accounts set up. And again, as a responsible and caring government, we made the decision to give persons checks, to print checks from the Treasury and give to those fisher folk. So for persons who were getting problems in terms of banking information and getting the bank account set up, this government made the determination that those persons would receive checks. I want to report today, Madam Deputy Chair, that, I can get the figures right here, that the total benefits paid from a responsible government, a government that cares about the fishermen, I understand that their businesses were interrupted, and that because their businesses were interrupted, that we had to respond right away once we collected the right information, because at the end of the day, the government has to account for the money. It is a benevolent fund. It was money that was given via philanthropic drive, but at the end of the day, you have to account for the money. So it was not a situation where a person will come in, there's a big box of money and you hand out $2,000 and $1,500. They had to go through the whole registration process using vendor forms. Some persons, unfortunately, put the name down on the banking information. Some persons put the sisters and brothers and friends. Some persons use alias names on the forms. There were a lot of challenges that we had to work out, and that's why additional staff were put in place. But once the information, the correct information was given on the form, I can give the country the rested assurance that the money was paid in the Treasury. And for those who were getting problems with accounts, we made the determination via the Treasury that those persons would be given checks, and that is what we have been doing for the last couple of weeks. I want to say that as I speak, the total benefits paid thus far, total benefits. I want every person to be in listening ear of my voice now and say, 2,750,372.60. I repeat slowly so that person can take note. Total benefits paid so far, $2 million Barbados, 750,000 Barbados dollars, $372.60. Total money paid out to those persons, those fisher folk. Those fisher folk, that's far. Total money paid out. I want to say, a caring government that allows a philanthropic reach out for the fisher folk. And I want to say today that the boats are repairs so far. Total boat repairs amounted to $956,000, $956,189.99. I know that some persons, I am so generous, I will repeat, $956,189.99. I am so generous that I wouldn't call it $190. $189.99. That has been paid out so far. Total money paid for benefits for boat owners, captains, crew members, and vendors, as well as grants for boat repairs, is $3 million. I want you to get the figures right. $3,706,500 $563.59. A government that cares, that not only say that they will do, but has shown by its action that it cares about the fisher folk in this country, because it has put its money towards the benefit of the fisher folk when we recognize that their businesses were interrupted. 563.59. That is what has been paid out thus far. And we are continuing the process of paying out benefits as I speak. Because once the forms come in, I just want Barbadians to understand that once the forms come in, this is not an exercise in splitting the atom bomb, the atomic bomb. Or the atom, I must say, once the forms come in, the completed forms come in with the requisite information, they are processed. It doesn't matter if it is a folk who is female or male. It doesn't matter if you're tall or short. It doesn't matter if you are as handsome as some persons, even if they sit in the corner to my acute left. It doesn't matter if the young lady is as pretty, Madam Deputy Speaker, as you in your toilet years. All that matters, Madam Deputy Speaker, is that you fill out the form. And we are begging fisher folk who have concerns. I know that there's an office quite opposite the office of the fisheries division, but I don't want it to get disoriented in terms of geographical directions. I want them to stay on the same side as the market. When they walk over the vendors and the fisher folk walk from the market, I want them to walk and keep on this, we call the driving side. Have you ever a driving instructor, they say, keep straight ahead. Don't turn left, don't turn right. I know you're going to fail the exam. Keep straight ahead and just stop at the pretty building with the fish. The beautiful building. That is the fisheries division. There's no reason to try to get across the road and get knocked down with a car. So they can get all the answers at the fisheries division, and I'm sure they got 4 additional persons there who are there to answer their concerns. I want to say, Madam Deputy Chair, that the fishing industry is dear to every single person's heart. And we want to see the revival of the industry. We cannot have the maxims on the tongues of every single person that speak to building forward better and all of we. And this is who we are, unless we equally put our expenditure to ensure that the industry is able to survive the test of times, albeit that we were met with a serious challenge and anomaly. We understand that. And I want to say that to all those fisher folk who are listening, that if there is a concern, a genuine concern, please come to the fisheries division and get your concern dealt with. For those 40 persons who have decided that they're not interested in coming forward and filling out the forms or getting the information, our doors are still open. And as I just said, I give the location pin for the fisheries division, so don't be disoriented when you come to the fisheries division. It's not immediately across the road. It is right, a nice, pretty blue building there, and you can come and get your business dealt with. I just want to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, that thus far we have placed back in the ocean, in terms of repair boats, over 45 boats. 45 boats have been repaired and placed back in the ocean to start back their fishing journey. 45 boats. I want to say the total number of boats back in the water is 141. Total number. That is recognizing, of course, those that were not damaged, and some that were already getting repaired before the incident took place. So we have 41 boats in our waters right now fishing. And I want to report also that over the last couple, 2 months or so, we have started to export tuna once again. We have started our exportation of tuna. So I want to give persons who may have little fibrillation of the ventricles of the heart the calm and the rest of the assurance that the industry will recover, we will rebuild, we will ensure that there is a resuscitation of sorts under this administration, and we will build forward better to ensure that the industry survives the test of time. And to say that building forward better requires us to be more resilient. It is a given. Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to report today that we have, in our port, received the armored stones from Norway. The boat is here. We have started to remove the slabs in the market area. We have started the repairs for the build back of our breakwater using more resilient material. The contractors are down there. They had a meeting with the stakeholders already. And I want to say that the work has started so that in the early part of next year, before the middle, we shall have a breakwater that is resilient, that is more resilient, and that will be able to do that which it is supposed to do in terms of protection and ensuring that we are able to resist and to be able to provide a safe haven for our fisher folk. That which existed was able to protect for 35 years, but recognizing, of course, that climate change, if there is no doubt in our minds that climate change is real, the perfect example took place July the 1st. It is as real as it gets. And I want to say that it is real, and it is even more real and evident for us who regard ourselves as small island developing states, who may not have the financial wherewithal to build for immediately, because we recognize that although we contribute very little to this whole climate change phenomenon, I think Barbados produces about 2 million tons or so of carbon dioxide yearly. Very small in the whole scheme of a 40 billion ton that is exposed in the world every single year. Although we contribute very little, we unfortunately are exposed to the vagaries and the adverse behaviors from the systems that confront us. The extreme heats, the extreme rainfall that we see. 1 minute it is over 30 degrees Celsius, and the next day there is nebulous and conditions and flooding that devastate lives. So that is the reality that we live with. I want to say, Madam Deputy Chair, Speaker, that we will continue as a government to do everything in our power to ensure the protection of the industry, and so that we can rescue, rebuild, and restore in our efforts to build forward better. Thank you, Madam Deputy.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of the House until 2 p.m.
Question is that the Honourable Chamber be suspended until 2 p.m. Honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it. The suspension is now until 2 p.m.